She called the cops on my teenage son. But when they showed up, the Navy SEALs were already on my porch. That day started like any other, until Karen started screaming again. She was standing in the middle of the street, phone in hand, shouting so loud even the mailman froze. "I called the police." "That boy's trespassing again." I turned around, still holding my wrench from fixing the mailbox. My son Ethan just stood there, basketball under his arm, sweat still fresh from practice. His face was pale. "Dad, I didn't even do anything." Before I could answer, Karen stormed closer, her heels clicking like gunshots. "This neighborhood has rules," she barked. "Your son keeps walking through HOA property, and now he's bringing strange men around here." I felt my patience snap. "He walks home from school, Karen, on the public sidewalk." "You don't own that." She crossed her arms, eyes cold. "This entire area falls under HOA supervision. We don't need your kind of trouble here. Your kind." She said it like poison. My jaw clenched, but I stayed quiet. That's when I saw the flashing lights, 2 squad cars pulling in fast. Karen smirked, straightening her blouse like she'd just saved the nation. "See? Maybe now you'll learn how this community works." 2 officers stepped out, hands resting on their belts. "We got a call about a disturbance," one said, glancing between us. Karen rushed over. "That boy, he's been sneaking around. He's had gangs visiting him, big men in black trucks." "I'm worried for the children here," Ethan's voice cracked. "They're not gang members. They're my mom's." Karen cut him off. "Don't lie to the police, young man." I stepped in front of Ethan. "That's enough. Those men were invited. You're harassing my son, and this is the last warning." But Karen wasn't done. She turned to the cops again, her tone dripping with fake concern. "You might want to search their house. There's something strange going on here." Ethan's hands shook. He looked ready to cry, and I could feel my heart breaking. Ever since his mom passed, serving overseas, saving lives, he'd been quiet, withdrawn. Basketball and those visits were the only things that kept him going. One officer sighed. "Ma'am, we'll just talk to the kid and clear things up, all right?" Karen nodded eagerly. "Please do." Just as the officer stepped toward our porch, a deep rumble echoed down the street. A black SUV turned the corner and stopped behind the police cars. Karen's smirk faltered. 3 men stepped out, broad-shouldered, calm, wearing plain clothes but carrying an unmistakable presence. They moved like soldiers. The lead man approached us, giving me a small nod. "Afternoon, sir." "Sorry we're late." "Traffic from base was a nightmare," Karen blinked. "Base? What base?" The officer frowned. "Sir, can we ask who you are?" The man showed his badge. "Lieutenant Commander Blake Reynolds, United States Navy. We're here to see Ethan." The silence that followed could have cracked glass. Karen's face drained of color. "Why are Navy officers visiting him?" Blake's expression didn't change. "Because his mother served with us. She was a medic on our team before she passed. We visit her son every few weeks as part of the mentorship program for families of fallen service members." The officer looked down, suddenly respectful. Ethan's eyes filled with tears, and he quickly wiped them away. Karen stuttered. I didn't know." "I just saw—" "You saw what you wanted to see," Blake interrupted, his voice like steel. "You called the police on a hero's kid." Karen's lips trembled. "I was just trying to protect the neighborhood." Blake stared her down. "From what? A boy trying to live his life after losing his mother?" She took a step back, silent for once. The officers quietly apologized and told Ethan there was no problem. As they left, Blake crouched beside Ethan and gave him a gentle pat on the shoulder. "You did good, kid. Keep your head up. Your mom would be proud." Ethan nodded, barely holding it together. "Thanks, sir." The men stayed a bit, chatting, laughing softly, helping Ethan forget the embarrassment Karen had caused. But before leaving, Blake leaned toward me and whispered, "Be careful. She's not done. Someone on the HOA board told us she's been asking for property maps and personal records. Looks like she's digging for something." I looked toward her house. Her curtains twitched. I could almost see the glow of her phone through the window. That night, as we sat in silence at the dinner table, Ethan asked quietly, "Dad, why does she hate us so much?" I didn't have an answer. All I knew was that Karen had just made enemies with the wrong people, and she didn't even know it yet. What would you do if someone used fake authority to humiliate your family? Would you confront them, Or let karma handle it? Tell me in the comments. I'm curious what you'd do. The next morning, everything seemed quiet. Too quiet. The kind of calm that feels like it's holding its breath before something breaks. Ethan had left early for school, and I was out front trimming the hedges when I saw Karen's car parked across the street. She wasn't even pretending anymore. Phone camera pointed right at our house. I walked over slowly. "You filming us again, Karen?" She smiled, that tight-lipped fake grin. "Just documenting HOA violations. You've got unapproved visitors, and I believe that black SUV from yesterday broke our community security rules." I laughed, but it wasn't funny. Those were U.S. Navy officers, not delivery drivers. And there's no HOA rule against having friends. Her eyes narrowed. "We'll see. I've been talking to the board, and they agree this property doesn't match the neighborhood standard. You might be asked to revalidate your ownership." Ownership. There it was. I'd heard that threat before. But what Karen didn't know was this house wasn't just owned by me. It was part of a land grant, given to my grandfather, a veteran, decades before this HOA even existed. "Try me," I said quietly. She shrugged, pretending to be polite. "You'll be hearing from us soon." Then she turned and drove off, her phone still recording until the moment she disappeared around the corner. That night, after dinner, I caught Ethan staring out the window again. "She's doing it, isn't she?" He asked. "Doing what?" "Watching us." I looked outside. Sure enough, a car was parked 2 houses down with headlights off. Someone sat inside, the faint glow of a phone lighting their face. "Go upstairs," I told him. "Lock your door." A few minutes later, I went out to check, but the car sped off. No plates I could read, just a black blur under the streetlight. The next morning, an envelope sat on our porch. No stamp, no name. Just a printed letter inside. "Dear resident, you are hereby notified that your property violates HOA standards and zoning regulations. You are required to vacate pending review." It wasn't even signed. I showed it to Ethan, who frowned. "She's trying to get us kicked out." I sighed. "She's trying to scare us." He hesitated. "Do you think she knows about Mom's grant? The one Grandpa left?" "Maybe," I said, folding the paper. "But that's not her concern." By noon, Blake called me. "We got word from someone inside the HOA office," he said. "Karen pulled your land record from the county system. She's claiming your property line overlaps HOA territory. She wants to use that to evict you." My blood ran cold. "That's impossible. This land's been ours since before that subdivision was even built." "She's hoping you won't fight it," Blake said. "But if she's messing with federal records tied to a veteran's land grant, she's walking into a legal minefield." I looked out the window again and froze. Karen was standing in my front yard. "Blake, I'll call you back," I said, and stepped outside. "You need to leave my property now." She smiled like a politician. "Just taking some photos for documentation. You'll be receiving your eviction notice soon." I took a deep breath, trying not to lose it. "Karen, this isn't your neighborhood. You don't make laws, and you sure don't trespass on federal property." That made her laugh. "Federal? Please. This is HOA land. You're just a squatter who doesn't understand paperwork." Before I could answer, Ethan opened the door. "Dad," Karen pointed at him, "you better keep that boy quiet. If he steps foot in the park again, I'll have him arrested." Something in me snapped. "You don't get to threaten my son." But she just smiled wider and walked off, heels clicking against the pavement. "Then you'd better start packing." Later that evening, Blake and 2 other SEALs arrived. This time not for a visit, but for a reason. They came with documents, maps, and a look of concern. Blake spread the papers on my table. "She's filed a complaint under your name with the HOA board and local zoning office. But look here," he pointed at a map. "Your boundary lines cover the entire lower block, including that park she's claiming. That's not HOA land. It's government-registered property deeded to your grandfather for service in Korea." Ethan's eyes widened. "So she's trying to steal our land?" Blake nodded. "Or get control of it through the HOA, which means she's not just being annoying, she's committing fraud." I looked toward the window again. Karen's porch light flickered, and her blinds moved just slightly. She was still watching. Blake folded the map and said quietly, "We'll handle this, but be ready. She's not giving up easy. And when people like her feel power slipping away, they do desperate things." That night, just as I was locking up, I heard the sound of a car door slam outside. Then a knock on the door, slow, deliberate. When I opened it, no one was there. Only a single paper stuck to the door with tape. Vacate within 48 hours or we'll have the sheriff remove you. Ethan read it over my shoulder, voice shaking. Dad, can they do that? I looked at the note, then toward Karen's window glowing across the street. No, I said slowly, but they just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Because the next knock that came to her door wouldn't be from us. What would you do if your neighbor tried to take your family's land using fake authority? Would you call the cops or fight back your own way? Let me know in the comments. The next morning, things moved fast. A county vehicle pulled up to my driveway with 2 inspectors and clipboards. Karen followed right behind them, grinning like she'd already won. Good morning, she called sweetly. Just a routine check, sir. HOA requested a full inspection for zoning violations. I folded my arms. You mean you requested it? The lead inspector looked uneasy. We just follow orders, sir. Karen leaned closer to him. Make sure you photograph the unapproved fencing. It's all illegal. I almost laughed. The fence she was talking about was installed by my grandfather back in the 60s, long before her house even existed. As they walked around taking photos, Ethan came outside whispering, Dad, they're in the backyard now, I followed, heart pounding. The inspectors were confused, pointing at a large metal plaque embedded in the ground near the fence. It read, U.S. Property, Federal Land Grant, Department of Veterans Affairs. Karen's voice cracked. What is that? The inspector cleared his throat. Ma'am, this property isn't under HOA jurisdiction. This is federal land. Your board has no authority here. Karen turned pale. That's not possible. It's part of our community. I stepped closer. No, Karen. This land existed before your HOA was even formed. You've been trespassing, harassing, and falsifying documents. She stumbled back, but before I could say more, Blake arrived, this time with someone in uniform. Morning, he said, handing the inspector a folder. Special Agent Miller, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. We've been reviewing some fraudulent claims filed from this neighborhood. Karen's jaw dropped. Fraudulent? Blake nodded. Yes, someone tried to alter veteran land maps to transfer ownership under an HOA-controlled title. That's a federal crime. Karen tried to speak, but words failed her. She looked from me to Blake, then back again. You can't prove it was me. Blake's eyes stayed cold. Actually, we can. Every request was sent from your HOA email account. She froze. The inspector quietly packed his things. We're done here. As they left, Karen's hands shook. You set me up. I smiled slightly. No, you set yourself up when you messed with a veteran's land. She turned and ran back to her car, shouting something about lawyers. But the look in her eyes wasn't anger. It was fear. That night, Ethan asked softly, Is it over? Almost, I said. But people like her don't stop until they're exposed. Blake nodded. Don't worry. Tomorrow she'll be the one getting a visit. The next day, a convoy of official vehicles pulled into the neighborhood. County sheriff, federal agents, even a news van. Karen stood frozen on her porch, still in her robe, clutching her phone. When the agent stepped forward, she tried to slam the door, but one of them stopped her. Ma'am, we have a warrant. You're under investigation for document forgery and harassment of a federal property owner. The whole neighborhood gathered around. Phones came out. People whispered. Ethan stood beside me, wide-eyed. Dad, they're really arresting her? I nodded slowly. Actions have consequences, Karen screamed as they led her away. You can't do this to me. I run this neighborhood. Blake, standing next to the sheriff, said calmly, Not anymore. Later that evening, the HOA board released a statement publicly apologizing to our family. Turns out, several other residents had filed complaints about Karen, too. She'd been abusing her authority for years. The news spread fast. By nightfall, her house was dark, her name removed from every HOA file. Ethan looked at me, relief washing over his face. So, it's finally done? Yeah, I said quietly. It's done. We stood on the porch watching the sunset. Blake joined us, smiling. Your wife would have been proud, man. You fought the right way, with patience, truth, and respect. I smiled faintly. She taught me that. She always said, never let fear silence justice. Ethan nodded, eyes glistening. I think she'd be proud of both of us. Blake clapped him on the shoulder. You've got a strong name to live up to, kid. Keep it that way. As they left, I looked around at the peaceful street. No shouting, no cops, just quiet. And for the first time in months, it actually felt like home again. But deep down, I couldn't help but think of the question Karen once threw at me, do you really belong here? Now, watching the flag fluttering on our porch, I had my answer. Yeah, we belong here, and more than she ever did. If someone tried to take what your family earned with their blood and sacrifice, would you walk away or fight to protect it? Tell me what you'd do in the comments.